Hello, you guys. Welcome back to episode 93 of the Girls Lounge podcast with your hosts, Liz and KT. And unfortunately, we are down one member of the podcast today, and that is Elizabeth. So I'm kind of going rogue today. But before we get into that, if you are listening on Spotify or Apple, make sure you are following us. And then if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss a single episode we upload every Wednesday. And we're just here for a simple girl talk episode every Wednesday, and we try not to miss a week. Do not worry, hint, while we're doing the solo episode. But yeah, we're going rogue today. And since this is just an episode with me, I decided I still want to give you girls the best experience ever. So I'm like being professional. I'm recording on my camera if you're watching on YouTube, and I have like a whole different setup than I obviously would have with recording with Elizabeth remotely. So hopefully this is still a good experience for you guys, even though it is just me, and hopefully I can just keep this episode going and still be entertaining. But yeah, so we're gonna try out this solo episode format. I am gonna kind of like skip over some segments that we usually do or just kind of condense it and stuff, but I obviously will still have timestamps. But this is gonna be one take, so no editing. So I'm trying to do my best to, be on my P's and Q's. And this episode title was inspired by Giggly Squad. So thank you for that. I'm like lounging is going to be a verb from now on. But a little life update since the last time we talked. Oh, I should mention why Elizabeth isn't here. I won't go too into detail because, that's her story to tell. But essentially, she's going through flight attendant training. So exciting. So she's in Texas dealing with that. So sis needs a minute to, get her life together, know her schedule, and all of that. But everyone send prayers for her to be stationed. I don't know if that's what you would say for flight attendant, but to be stationed in Chicago so she could be with bestie Jill. But okay, enough about that. Now we're really gonna get into the live update. So I saw Elizabeth and Kelsey last weekend, I believe that would be, and we had the cutest little fun like hangout. We went to Chili's, which was amazing, obviously, which is insane because Chili's was so packed, you guys. It was insane, and we were like, wait, low-key, like, should we make a reservation or something? Jokes, but like still it was so many people, which is crazy because like people used to never go to Chili's. Like I remember I went to like a birthday dinner at Chili's in high school, ghost town, nobody. But now in the year 2026, it is popping, and that is on good marketing. And of course I got their triple dipper of freaking course. And then we saw Reminders of Him, which was such a good movie. I have no notes. Like that is a movie I would watch again. The acting was perfection. Rudy Panko, whatever. I'm like, wait, like, is my obsession gonna come back? I was obsessed with him in Outer Banks during like seasons 1 and 2. And the show low key kind of, I don't want to say it went downhill, but like, we've lost the plot potentially. Yeah, that's all I'm gonna say. But so that was a nice hangout, and I'm actually so sorry if you guys can hear the freaking birds chirping right near my window. That is just so nice of them to know. Anyways, and then the day after that, it was my dad's birthday, so we had a nice little dinner at this restaurant called Malone's. I had some chicken, some bruschetta. We was grubbing, and it was just a really nice dinner. That's all we did that day. Nothing else special, but my dad enjoyed himself, I guess. Why did Mans almost like pass out during the lunch, dinner, whatever it was? Because Mans was sick, and my mom was like, then why are we having a dinner when you sick? But you know, man. But anyways, so that's all I've been up to since the last time I talked to you guys. So let's get into some media. So I have finished Love Story. So I'll first give you guys kind of like my episode thoughts of the last episode. So not gonna lie, I was worried about how they were gonna handle their death because overall the making of this whole show is very controversial, and I was just like, are they gonna like make their death a huge spectacle in terms of like be really disrespectful and like actually show the moment the plane crashes and stuff? But I will say they kept it very demure. They showed it. Oh, I should say like spoilers. But yeah, so spoilers skip through a bit, but they just showed like, John kind of struggling in the air, and then everyone kind of noticing like, oof, like obviously this is gonna go wrong, but and then that's where it ends. And that was honestly low-key kind of early in the episode, and then they kind of like showed the aftermath of everything like publicly with the families and stuff like that. And I actually like how they kind of showed like the real information and like why the plane crashed. And it's just really sad because it truly was like a preventable tragedy, because one, John F. Kennedy Jr. didn't even like have his full hours. He's never driven, I think at night driven. Mind you, it's a whole plane. I'm like, he hasn't driven, he hasn't got his night hours in. No, but he hasn't gotten like a certain amount of hours, and I don't think he ever has like flown a plane at night without like an instructor and stuff. And like the conditions were foggy, I think, and he was experiencing spatial disassociation, I believe is what it's called. So essentially when he was flying over the water, he didn't know the difference between up and down, so he's kind of going off instincts and visuals that aren't really there. So he would have thought like, even though they're crashing towards the ocean, he would have thought that they were really up in the sky, but really they were going straight down. So I like that they actually like explained that and kind of, didn't brush over that fact. And I think it's a very real reality that I'm sure the Kennedy family probably wants to like put some distance towards that. Like essentially this plane crash really was JFK Jr.'s fault, and like how the media paints it where like, oh, if only Carolyn didn't do this or this, they would have been on time and blah blah blah, like they would have left when it was daytime. But yeah, I mean, it's just very sad. And I liked how they, showed the mom's reaction and stuff, and how it's upsetting when it's like, not only do you lose one daughter, but to lose two daughters in a crash, and for one of the daughters kind of existence to kind of be pushed aside in all the media coverage. And I can understand how that can be super upsetting, especially with like the alleged kind of state of Carolyn and JFK Jr.'s relationship at that point. So I really liked how we got to see it. And not gonna lie, I started tearing up, or I was close to tearing up watching the finale. It was like so sad, especially like just like the aftermath of it all. And I just felt so much for Carolyn Kennedy, JFK Jr.'s sister, because I mean, obviously we saw like they lost their mom not too long ago. So she lost her mom. I mean, and they lost their dad too. So not only like did she lose her mom, she also lost her dad when she was younger, and now like she lost her brother. So it's just, that was just really sad to like see that, even though it was all fictional. But just like think of like how the real life Carolyn Kennedy or Caroline Kennedy could have like felt at that time, which is really sad to think about. But overall, the series as a whole, now this is where things get tricky, because I fear I am a bit of a hypocrite, because I sure enough did watch this show from beginning to end. But I do think at the same time like we probably could have gone without this show, and I probably won't watch any future iterations of the show either. I know there's some conversation of like, oh, what, famous couple are they gonna cover next? But honestly, I can see both sides of the argument. Like, I honestly do think it is kind of like an icky show, especially with how private Caroline Bessette was, or Carolyn Pet. Oh my God, can I speak? Especially with how private Caroline Bessette was. Like, she would have hated this show, and she like stayed out of the public eye, and we truly don't have much information about her as a person. And there's like very few videos of her even speaking to the press, so it's like, how do we really know her personality and stuff like that? But I do think this was an icky show, and it just, when it first dropped, it was not too long after Jack's sister, I don't know how to pronounce their last name, but you guys all know who I'm talking about. Like, she just died recently, and obviously that those were Caroline's children. So I definitely do think like it was bad timing, or I don't want to say bad timing, because obviously they plan these things out, but it's just like, ooh, like the timing of it all, like, oof. It was just a little rough. And I remember I had this conversation with a friend, and I was like, wait, like low-key it's not that much different from The Crown though, so I shouldn't be like too icky about it. But then I listened to something else, and I just felt like, I don't know, they kind of made a good point, and I was like, wait, I think I kind of agree with this more, that like it actually really isn't like The Crown at all, because The Crown is showing historical stuff, and obviously like the Kennedy family, like that is history, but it's not the same, you know what I mean? Like this show is not showing us historical events per se. So it's just, again, it's more like a fan fiction, I would say, about this family. And like I said earlier, Carolyn would have hated the show if she were still alive today. But at the same time, the Kennedy family is like America's royal family. So I see the fascination. I mean, I see the fascination. I watched the show, and I think they're a very interesting family. And obviously, like, to this day, we still have so many things to say about the family, like the descendants of the family who are living now. So, I mean, it's just like human nature to be curious. Also, it just started like pouring rain, so I apologize if you can hear just like the thundering of the rain outside. But yeah, that's what we're working with today in today's conditions. But yeah, so anyways, back to moral of the story. Hopefully, low-key, hopefully the rain is like low-key like background ASMR, but we shall see. So yeah, overall I liked how the show didn't romanticize anything. I feel like you could tell by like the less amount of TikToks I saw as the show progressed, because obviously they show the, I like how they kind of play the story out, where it's like, you know, it may seem all sunshines and rainbows in the beginning, but like truly, like this really was a tumultuous relationship. So I really liked how they showed that and didn't romanticize anything, because I know in the beginning people are like, LOL, this is like how you're gonna act so you can, you know, get a guy that's like JFK Jr. But it's like, this is not necessarily a relationship to be what's the word, to be envious of, trying to like be a relationship that you want to recreate in any way. But yeah, so those are all my thoughts on Love Story. Can put those to rest. And then I started the show on Peacock, and it's so freaking funny, and it's called Stumble. It is one of those TV shows that is like a sitcom, faux documentary style sitcom, and it's so good. I'm 7 episodes in, and I mean, the characters are just so wacky. It reminds me of like The Office, and I was trying to think of another documentary sitcom show. Oh, Modern Family, that's what it was. Like, it kind of reminds me of those, more so like Modern Family, but like cheerleading style. It's just so good, so funny, and I don't know, especially as someone who used to cheer, I find a lot of humor in it. And also, Steven from The Summer I Turned Pretty is in it. I was like, wait, what? I sent a video to my friends, and because like his hairstyle is obviously different, and you know, sometimes hairstyles make a difference, y'all. And I was like, wait, is this Steven? Like, I know this ain't who I think it is. Ariana, what are you doing here? And I sent it to my friends, and then like by the time I think it was Kelsey that answered, I like got a better look at him. I was like, oh yeah, this is definitely Steven. I was like, that's actually so funny. Like, hey, I don't want to say times are tough, but I'm like, I wonder when he filmed this show, because like low key he looks like, it looks kind of like I don't know, he just hasn't looked like that recently. So I feel like they probably filmed that show a little while ago. But yeah, so it's really funny. So if you like sitcom funny shows like that, then go watch it. I really hope it gets renewed for a season 2. I don't even know if the ending opens it up for that, because I haven't finished it yet, but I hope it gets a season 2. And then I watch Homicide NYC. It's like this series on Netflix, and low key, I thought they were gonna do like a third city, because the first city was LA, I believe. No. First city, New York City, second city, LA. So then I was like, oh, like, bet, like, maybe this is something they're gonna do in like different cities. But they did New York City again, which I mean, like, yeah, it makes sense. These are like huge cities, and so there's obviously so many cases they can cover. And all I have to say is, shows like this make me want to be a capital L loser for the rest of my life, because the way these people get betrayed is so scary. Literally by like people you're supposed to trust the most, friends, lovers, yada yada yada. I'm just like, ugh, there's just disgusting people out there in this world, and I hope someday in the future someday? No. Let's restart that sentence. I don't know English. I hope, not I hope. I don't know what I'm trying to say, y'all. What I'm trying to say is whenever in the future, when I do have kids, hopefully I can teach them to have discernment and good survival instincts so they never end up in those type of situations, because those cases just always make me sad when you see just like how the family is affected, because I know when you watch true crime, it's like easy to get kind of swept up in the, I don't want to say drama of it all, but like you can see these people as characters because you're just seeing their story, but it's like no, like these are real people. Not only was their life taken away, but it's like their family was affected as well. And it's just like so sad. It's just like senseless stuff. And it's just crazy, especially like one of the ones that stands out to me was like this fashion designer who was unbecoming in New York City. She was doing her thing. Her and her boyfriend were living in, not living in, but they were visiting Soho House for the evening, and essentially he killed her because essentially she was gonna turn him in to the police for basically like stealing money from her and stuff like that. And it's like it like doesn't make sense why murder was like the first thing on your mind. I'm like, surely you flee. I'm like, surely murder is just like not like what? And then like it doesn't make sense is because you murdered her. Like there's no way you thought you would get away with it, considering you're in a luxury hotel with cameras in every single square foot of that place. It like just doesn't make sense. But I mean, that's a good thing that it doesn't make sense because he was obviously locked away, and it just like I'm just like, I never want to have people that close to me ever. JK, I know I have good people around me, but like stuff like that just scares me, especially when it comes to like dating. I'm like I hope I don't date someone who's going to literally kill me. But anyway, not to get dark. Now we're going to move into a little bit of pop culture. So Olivia Rodrigo, she announced that she has a new album coming out on June 12th called You Seem Pretty Sad for a Girl So in Love, which I'm like, okay, Lana Del Rey with the long titles, but I'm so excited for it. I had a feeling it was coming just because, you know, there's been some hints here and there, but I'm super excited. If you don't know, I'm a huge Olivia Rodrigo girl. I mean, when I heard Driver's License, I mean, I was in the same exact room that I am now. Like, it was life-changing, monumental. Like, she made history. It is just, she is just one of my top artists. I love everything she does. So super excited for this album, and we have been dying for a new Olivia Rodrigo album, so I'm super excited. I know there's a lot of like rumblings, like what is this going to be about, because there are rumors that, you know, her and Louis broke up. Who even knows? Who even really cares, to be honest? Because you guys, like that's her personal life, just let her be. But I'm super excited for the new music. I know she said, well, allegedly, I heard another podcast talk about this, but allegedly she said she is taking some inspo from Lana in this album. So I'm like, wait, we're gonna have some Lana sounding music? Interesting. So that makes me curious about the sound of this album. But I will be sad. I'm like, it's April, May, June will be here before we freaking know it. I'm kind of like scared. Like, what will I even be doing in June 12th? Like, what will I be? Will I have a job? Will I still be interviewing, job hunting? I don't know what I'm gonna be doing. Hopefully something good, but at least I know I have something to look forward to this summer, which is a new album. I mean, the albums are just hitting. I mean, Harry Styles, BTS for my K-pop listeners. I mean, everyone's getting fed this year, which is super exciting. And Finn Wolfhard recently posted like a teaser for like a new song. I assume I'm like, bet. If you guys haven't listened to his album, I would highly recommend it. It's really good, like his debut album. But yeah, and then the last pop culture talk that I have for you guys is the summer house drama. I'm not gonna get into it, but I feel like for those of you who happen to be tuned in, all I'm gonna say is you already know I'm Team Ciara all the way. And Giggly Squad, they recently, you know, they kind of confirmed they Team Ciara, was like, duh. We all knew that. If you ever doubted Paige and Hannah, you're low-key fake. Why would you ever doubt them? But yep, Team Ciara all the way. If you want to support her, follow her on everything. I follow her on TikTok and Instagram because, like, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I didn't follow her before, but I did because I'm like, I'm gonna support women in STEM. I am gonna support women in the arts, and she's iconic, and I think she's a good role model for girls in general, but especially black women. So, I'm gonna support. So just now, Team Ciara all the way, and like we shall see what this reunion, what happens at this reunion whenever that all plays out. I can't wait to watch all the clips. I think they're actually filming for the reunion in like a week or two. So like emotions are gonna be fresh, and I'm excited. But yeah, and now onto the last topic of this episode, and that is the Japanese Grand Prix, which like can we just talk about how like we basically get this whole month off from Formula One since the Saudi GP and the Bahrain Grand Prix got, you know, cut, not cut, suspended, canceled, that's the word, got canceled because of like the war and stuff that's going on, which like valid, but I'm like, wow, I'm like, y'all ain't get no replacements, like we couldn't fit in one replacement, at least one, but the drivers, they deserve their rest, they deserve this extra time to be with their family, and low-key having two less races makes this season even more competitive. But yeah, so the Japanese Grand Prix just happened last weekend. Y'all know the deal. I didn't watch quali, which I'm not honestly mad about. It was, from what I heard, a snooze fest, and I feel like qualies this season so far haven't been as exciting. And like I will say, quali in general isn't typically as exciting until you get to like Q3. And with the new regulations, quality is just a little different now because the drivers can't push as much as they usually would have been able to push, but that's a conversation we'll get into a bit later. But the race, I honestly don't have much to say, except I knew that Oscar was pretty high up for qualifying, so I was low-key hoping for an Oscar win, but it was Kimmy's time to shine again this race weekend, which is very exciting. He's like the youngest leader of the driver championship, I believe, as like right now, which is kind of insane. But we will see how he performs later in the season because this is how he was last year. He does great in the beginning and then he kind of like falls off for some reason, whether that just be experience, the track, the car, whatever it may be. So we shall see. So the next race will be Miami, and I'm hoping for another Lando win. But I know both McLarens have had their struggle this season. But I mean, Lando was like, he finished fourth, so he was right there. So I definitely do think a McLaren double podium / win could very much be in our future, and I really do hope so. So it can kind of be, they can kind of enter themselves into the game of like chasing for points and kind of like try to like fight back for their titles that they gained last year. But I feel like the main takeaway from this race weekend were that the regulations are causing quite a stir. Some people are not happy about them, some are happy about them. I mean, I'm seeing like people like Lewis are like, wow, this is like the best ever, and then people like Max are like, I hate this, which I'm like, as a fan it's kind of hard to judge because personally I am like loving it. I'm like, I love this action because like the cars the previous seasons, like you can tell because they're bigger, like it's just kind of harder for them to kind of like race each other and stuff. But now we're seeing a lot more racing and battling, and like I'm sure that's a lot more fun for the drivers as well as it is for us viewers to watch. So I'm personally am liking it, but I do agree there do need to be some changes. But I'm just curious, like if Max were in the front fighting like Lewis is, would he have any complaints? That's the real question, and I fear the answer would be different if he was, and that's just my personal opinion. And I was listening to a podcast and they were talking about Max. He's kind of the driver where he's like he he wants stuff to be changed to fit his driving style instead of changing his driving style. So I feel like this may just be like, I don't want to say a wake up call, but maybe like yo Max, maybe you should look towards other ways to make the Red Bull more competitive. But we shall see how that plays out with how he feels. But I definitely do think there needs to be some changes because we saw that scary crash with Ollie. It's insane. He basically crashed because he was basically trying to avoid Colapinto from what I can remember, and then it caused him to crash because he was going way too fast and didn't want to hit Colapinto. and we saw him limping, which was really scary. But thankfully, he's all good. I'm like, you guys, we can't be doing this already. But yeah, this crash is definitely a wake up call to the FIA to like rethink some things. But yeah. Oh, I meant to mention this one point earlier about how I saw that F1 viewership is down, and I've seen some F1 fans on TikTok talk about like the races just aren't fun to watch anymore, and they're kind of using like the viewership is down. And I think that's, something that FIA needs to take in account. I mean, with F1, definitely the popularity. I mean, within the past couple years, it has definitely gotten popular, but there's bandwagon fans. There's people that come for a good time or a long time. But I think every sport goes through their peaks and their lows. And I mean, this might just be a low season because everything's all different and everyone's figuring it out and stuff like that. And I don't know. It's just, I don't know if F1 viewership is necessarily down everywhere, but maybe like in America, I would say. And like with the move to Apple TV, that could have lost some people. I don't know. I just thought that would be interesting to bring up. And then, yeah, so I think this is going to be like the end of the episode. Towards the end, I didn't want it to be longer than 30 minutes because one, my camera cannot record longer than 30 minutes. And we're at 26 minutes. And I'm like, if this is a solo episode, like, girl, we don't need to drag it if we don't need to drag it. You know what I mean? So we're gonna end the podcast off with a classic song of the week. I'm not gonna play the song for you guys, but it is Ballad of a Homeschooled Girl by the Queen, Olivia Rodrigo. Of course, love her. I mean, like when she said, every time I step outside, it's social suicide. Yeah, girl, you ate that. You ate that. It's just like, I love an artist who can just take things that you have experienced and feel and put it into a song with a good beat and good lyrics. Like, you ate that, sis. So, love her, love Guts, but Sour will always be number one in my heart. Thank you. And then, yeah, now it's time for the end of the episode. And again, if you're listening on Spotify, make sure you're following. Same with Apple. And if you didn't know, on Spotify, you can comment on podcast episodes, and it does work because I just tried it myself for our last episode. So yes, make sure you comment down below on Spotify or YouTube if you have anything you want to say, any thoughts on literally anything. We will reply to you. And if you are watching us on YouTube, make sure you subscribe, and hopefully in the future there's more episodes of me and Liz. If not, it will either be solo episodes or episodes with a fill-in, because we are not skipping weeks over here, okay? One, because we owe that to you guys, and we all know you have to be consistent with this algorithm and so many players in the game. So don't you worry, you guys. We're like, however the episode may look, we are not leaving you guys without an episode. So with that being said, I will see you guys next Wednesday. Bye.